What's up, everybody? Dang, I went a fingernail. Trying to talk and do something. Chew gum and walk. Use my chrome Van Dam handle hammer. Jean-Claude's cousin. Before I start this video, I just wanted to say thanks to everybody that's subscribed, commented, liked. I'm trying to get a little more used to the camera. I've never been a photogenic person. Never even really liked taking family photos. So trying to get a little more used to it. Most of the time I just have Metallica or something turned up wide open on the radio in here and work away. Stuff I want to do. I know as winter rolls around, I don't get out here as much. Hoping to start on the 67 before long, but I'm going to try to pull the 50 model out. It needs a good tune up, needs a lot done to it. Hasn't been drove in a while. It's still got the old 228 in it. If you're a 6-cylinder fan, I've got a friend of mine that I work with. Got a 69 Ford Falcon with a 250 inline 6 in it that is a good sounding motor. He wanted to be a little different with it. He makes me not feel as bad with my truck. You know, this will be going on 6 years in November on the truck, and I think he's been close to 20 years on the car, but he started the channel. Go over and check it out. It's Carl's Carport, and he's not Carl, but Carl's Carport. Go check him out on YouTube. He's going to do some work on it, try to get it finished up. So we're going to get back to this video. Going to do the XJ steering shaft upgrade on the K20 here, and hopefully it'll help somebody out. I do have an update I'm going to do to it. I didn't do it when I was putting it on, but I didn't like the way the collar went up on the steering column. I'm going to end up drilling through the center, drilling through one side, tapping the other, and getting me a probably just a 1/4 something small grade 8 bolt to run through there as a pin, just to make sure it never slides back down. But I'll do an update on that a little bit later and show you kind of how I done that. And like I've always said before, it's not really a how-to, just hopefully give somebody a little determination to get out and do something themselves. I know not everybody can, but I mean, I'm not the smartest person in the world. If I can do it, you can do it too. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, comment. Welcome back. Today I'm going to be working on the 83 again. I'm going to be doing a steering upgrade on it. Putting the XJ steering shaft in. I've never done this. Supposedly it's pretty well a bolt-in installation. So we're going to get the old one out. Have to do a little bit of modification to the XJ shaft. And get it ready to bolt in. I wanted to do this before I got my inner fenders painted and put in. I think it'd be a lot easier. I mean, I've got access to it through the wheel well now. So I'm gonna get the old one took out, get the new one ready to go in, and see how easy this bolts in. Here's the shaft I'm gonna be using. It's I can't remember the exact years, but late 80s, early 90s Jeep XJ. They have a Saginaw box on them also, so the spline count going into the steering box should be the same as the Chevrolet. A lot of these are glued at the joint, at the slip joint. This one's dimpled. There's 2 on each side. I've seen a lot of people take them and just take a block of wood and hammer them till they get them moving. I want this one to move pretty freely. I mean, I don't want it just to be sloppy, but I think I'm gonna drill these dimples out. That way I can collapse this together and get the length I need. That's kind of a safety feature. In case you have an accident, keep that shaft from just pushing all the way through into the cab with you. So I'm gonna get these drilled out, get the old one off, and hopefully it's a bolt-in installation. I know on the steering column, I'm not for sure what years on the Chevrolet truck, but some of them you have to cut I don't think this one will. Some of them you have to grind a little half moon for the bolt to pass through it. But we'll kind of look at that when we get the old shaft out and see how this one's going to fit on it. All right, so what replacing this shaft will do, it's going to replace that rag joint coming off the steering box. This one's actually pretty tight, but there's always that little bit of sponge in the steering, and they say this really helps tighten the steering response up on one. So yeah, I'm gonna try while the inner fenders and all's out, go ahead and swap it out, maybe help down the road with any issues. So I'm gonna get started removing it from the box and off of the column. See how it goes. This truck, I never pulled the motor, pulled the cab, and all's been off the frame, but that's honestly the best running small block I believe I've ever had. Probably the best quarter jet. The only thing I've done to the truck is I removed all the California smog lines, pump, vacuum lines. I mean, I think I've got one vacuum line to the vacuum advance and one to the brake booster, and that's pretty well it. I do have the evap hooked back up through the PVC valve and all back into the breather, but just to keep the fuel fumes down. But anyway, we're gonna get started back on get started removing the steering shaft here from the box. I'll try to get a camera set up, and this actually, I shouldn't say it won't take very long. Anytime I say that, it ends up taking 4 times longer than what it should. So I'm gonna get it set up here and get started removing it. All right, so I've got the wheels, steering wheel and the wheels pretty well set straight on the truck. I don't think it'll really matter the way these are notched. It should line right back up, but it's a good idea just to go ahead and center the steering wheel, center the wheels, turn the key off, lock the steering wheel, and the top bolt going into the steering column, it's a 15 millimeter. This should come out pretty easy since I've had it out before. Getting this to collapse to get it apart. Last time I had it out, I just took this loose, and when I pulled the cab back, it slid out. So I may end up having to heat this one. This one's glued. I may end up having to heat it up to get this to collapse enough to get it out. We'll see when I get there. All right, so the bolt on the steering column size, 12 millimeter. This one's never been out, so I know people dog Harbor Freight's tools, but this Icon ratchet has been my favorite ratchet. I bought it not long after they came out with the Icon brand. I think it's a 90 tooth ratchet. It doesn't take much movement for it to lock and catch another tooth if you're in a tight spot. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this bolt completely out. Can't remember if those go through a half moon on the steering box or not. So once I do that, I'm gonna take me a pry bar, open this up a little bit. Makes it a little easier to come off the splines. Just trying to open those jaws up a little bit on it so it will slide off of the splines pretty easy. It looks like it is going to come off fairly easy. Well, I spoke too soon. I forgot about the little T that sticks out on the, there we go. So here's the main difference between these. By replacing this, it's going to do away with this, I don't know what type of rubber, what it is. I know I have years ago made them before out of the slings off of an old wrecker. Cut some out, punched some new holes in them. But this one's still in pretty good shape. But it's going to be replaced with a U-joint type end. As far as the steering box side, it's all the same. The steering column side is pretty well the same. The only thing I'm not sure of that I like, the XJ shaft clamps onto the steering column to where the K20 shaft, the bolt went through the steering column. So, but anyway, next I'm gonna get these dimples drilled out so that I can slide and extend this. It needs to go a little bit shorter than what it is. And I think I really want to drill these out where it moves fairly freely. So I'm gonna get set up, get my drill, get me a bit, drill these dimples out of it. That way this will collapse in and get to the length I need. All right, so I've got a 1/4 inch bit. I'm gonna just try to drill these dimples out just a little bit, get this to where it'll slide a little bit easier. I'm not gonna drill all the way through the shaft, just through this outer collar. Just enough to try to take those dimples out. I still may have to peck on it with a hammer a little bit. And that's some pretty soft metal. I'm sure they're made in China or Taiwanese or somewhere. Not like everything else is anymore. All right, I got the dimples drilled out. Still had to hammer it with a block of wood. Like I said, be sure and don't hit on your U-joints. Try to hit on these, the ears just a little. And it didn't take much to get this moving after I drilled those out. And like I said, I just drilled through the outer collar. I'll touch those up with paint here in a little bit. So I got it ready to go back in. I'm still kind of, you know, maybe it'll be all right with this just clamping onto the collar. I kind of like the way this one had the bolt went through the center of the shaft. I have seen others to where this bolt set down in here a little bit, and you have to grind a little half moon out on the column where the bolt will pass through and help lock it in. That's kind of what I was expecting on this one, but that's not the case. So we'll get it slid up here, see how it acts like it's going to work, and get the camera set up and get it put up there, get it set up and ready to install. All right, so I'm gonna get this slid up on the steering column, tighten it down. I still don't know how happy I am about it, just a compression fit on there. But if it gives me trouble, I may end up drilling a hole through it and putting my bolt through the center. We'll just have to see how it goes. I've pushed it up on here as far as it'll go up on the steering column. Hopefully it'll clamp on it tight enough. Gotta snug it up pretty good. So that's got the steering column in. I think I may clean up the splines and everything here a little bit before I put this on. So I'll be back in just a second. I'm gonna get a wire brush on the drill, clean the front of the box up just a little. Might touch it up with a little bit of paint since I've already painted everything else. All right, so I got that end mounted on the steering column. I still don't know how I like the clamp effect going on the steering column. I have cleaned up the front of my steering box and rebuilt it, we'll say. Clean the splines up on the steering box. I think I have this shortened down enough that it should go on. So let's see if we can get it on there, finish it up. This is actually a real simple install. I've not drove this truck in 5 years, so I ain't gonna be able to tell a difference to what it was before, which before it had 25-year-old tires or older on it, like the tires on it were. You could see the air through them. All right, so got it started up on the splines. I'm gonna take me a block of wood and just put on these ears. Like I said, don't just drive, try not to drive against the U-joint. I'm gonna be hitting on it a little bit here, but I don't think it's gonna take a whole lot to get it to go. And I'm not for sure if that bolt, I'm gonna go ahead and take this bolt all the way out, because I know on the factory one, well, I'll hit the washer. I know on the factory one, this bolt rides in this half moon, if you can see that. I'm not for sure if this one does. I hope it does. So I'm gonna pull the bolt out just in case. There's also a flat spot on the splines on these that has to line up. So that's that. I'm gonna go here and get the washer where it fell, the little lock washer. Put my bolt back through there, tighten everything up, and we will be done. This is a really simple, like I said, a really simple install, and I could see it being very beneficial. All right, so it's done. I have it installed. Like I said, I ain't drove the truck in 5 years, so I don't really have nothing to compare it by, but having a U-joint down here at your steering box has got to be, it's got to be better than having that rag joint. And like I said, this was a pretty simple install. And like I said, some of these shafts, the bolts down a little lower, and you have to notch the steering. I still may end up drilling a hole. Mine just had a bolt factory on the rag joint going through the center of it. I still may end up drilling and typing that and putting the bolt through the column shaft. Down here at the box, there's nothing you have to do. It all just lines straight up. So pretty much between getting your shaft to slip right here, And like I said, mine was dimpled, almost looks like rivets. Some of them's glue, like the factory style have glue in them. You can heat that up and get this inner shaft to slide in here so you can collapse this together and get enough room to get it in. But we're gonna see how this, we'll see how hopefully in a few months how it works out. They say it makes a lot better steering response and stuff, so, and I'm sure it has to make a difference. So we'll see how it ends up going. It looks like an awful small U-joint to be turning a bigger set of tires, but we'll keep an eye on it, see how it works out once we get to driving it. So that's going to be about it for today.